is, can I use hyphens to avoid ambiguity? So before we get started, I'd like you to have a little think back to yesterday's lesson, where we explored the difference between hyphens and dashes and what it means to be ambiguous. Can you write me a definition for a hyphen and a definition for ambiguity? Pause the video now while you write down your definitions. So we should have written down that a hyphen is a piece of punctuation used to join two or more words together to form one word. So yesterday we started to explore compound adjectives. We also spoke a little bit about using a hyphen for prefixes and for compound nouns and numbers. Ambiguity is when something is open to more than one interpretation. So this means that it might have more than one meaning. I'd like you to have a think about what you think I mean by the term compound word. So compound words are formed when two or more words are joined together to form one word. So there are some examples listed below. So if I add together the two individual words foot and ball, I create the compound word football. Sun and flower, sunflower, book and shelf, bookshelf. I'd now like you to pause the video again and write down as many examples of compound words as you can think of. Challenge yourself. How many could you write down in a minute? So thinking about the meaning of a compound word, what do you think a compound adjective could be? So compound adjectives are single adjectives made up of more than one word, and they are joined using a hyphen. So some more examples. The two individual words open and minded combined together form the compound adjective open-minded. Quick-witted. If somebody's quick-witted, it means that they're quick on their feet, so they think very, very quickly. Airtight, we often talk about airtight containers, so that's making sure that nothing can escape from that container. And heartbroken. So we're going to have a look at some example reasoning statements here where we need to think about where the hyphen needs to go within the sentence. So Jane was terrified to see the bird eating spider. Now, as I read that sentence to begin with, I might think that the bird is eating the spider. Now, I've got three nouns in my sentence. I've got Jane, bird, and spider. So having a look at that sentence, if I put my hyphen between the words bird and eating, it would tell me that the spider is the one eating the bird. That would help to avoid ambiguity, and I would have formed a compound adjective because bird eating is describing the characteristics of the spider. I'm going to have a look at another one. So it's now asking me to rewrite the sentence below, putting a hyphen in the correct place. So the college cafe was a hotbed of exciting ideas. So having a look at my sentence, I know that it wouldn't make sense to put my hyphen between the words college cafe because they are two separate words. They won't form a new one if they are put together. However, hotbed, that can be used to describe those exciting ideas. So I know that I could use a hyphen between the two words hot and bed. That's going to form a compound word. Maisie has written a sentence below. Has she used a hyphen correctly? My dad is a super strong bodybuilder and he goes to the gym every day. Now, straight away, I know that Maisie hasn't used her hyphen correctly because I know that every day is a single word. It's not, although it can be written as two individual words, we wouldn't use a hyphen to join those two together. So I know that I need to use the hyphen somewhere else within my sentence. My dad is a super strong bodybuilder. Now, again, bodybuilder is one word. so I know that I'm not going to use a hyphen there. However, super strong is describing the noun bodybuilder. So I would use my hyphen between the words super and strong. That's going to form a compound adjective because it's describing the bodybuilder. So for your first activity for today's lesson, which can be found under the heading Thursday then English, you're going to complete some questions similar to the ones that we've just looked at together. These questions will ask you to put hyphens in the correct places, identify whether hyphens have been used correctly or incorrectly, and replace other punctuation with hyphens. So if you are asked to explain how you know something, I would expect you to use a subordinating conjunction because, so that helps us to explain our thinking. If you have any questions about the activity, you can email me. My email address is on the Year 6 class page. I'd also love to see some photos of the work once you have completed it, so we can put them on our Year 6 learning gallery. I'd now like you to pause the video and complete activity 1. Once you have done activity 1, come back to the video and we will go through the next activity together. Pause the video now. So can you think of examples of when we might use a hyphen in our writing? I'd like you to write down what you think. So we might use a hyphen for the following reasons. To form a compound noun, remember a noun is a place, a person, an object or a thing. To form a compound adjective, remember an adjective describes a noun, so thinking about the bird-eating spider, bird-eating was our compound adjective there. After a prefix, so thinking about the word cooperate, I've got the prefix co and the root word operate. I use a hyphen to join those two words together. Or for a number. So what we're going to do now is we've got 3 sentences at the bottom of my slide here, and we're going to identify the words which use a hyphen. We're then going to think about whether that hyphen has been used for a number, to form a compound noun, for a prefix, or to form a compound adjective. So my first sentence, my sister-in-law is the person married to my brother. So I can see that sister-in-law has used a hyphen, and I know that that is a compound noun. So I would write sister-in-law in my compound noun box. There are nearly 487 children in our school. Now I can see that 87 has my hyphen, and I know that that's a number. So I know that I need to write 87 in my number section on my grid. The vicious-looking dog was kept on a very short lead. So I can see that vicious-looking contains my hyphen. I know that dog is a noun and vicious-looking is describing the dog, which means that vicious-looking would be a compound adjective. So I would write it in my compound adjective box on my grid. So for your second activity today, which again can be found under the heading Thursday then English, you're going to be sorting hyphens into the categories listed on this slide. You can set out your groups using a grid, like I did, or you may wish to set out your work in another way. For example, it could be a spider diagram, you could create a list, you might practice using your colons and your semicolons then. It's up to you how you present your work, but it needs to be sorted into a number category, compound noun, prefix, and compound adjective. Again, if you've got any questions, you can get in touch, and I'd also love to see some photos of this activity as well.